should really go for what they want without fear. What's the worst that can happen? Nobody will kill you. The worst that can happen is a no. That's the worst. But it's still an answer.
Mina Atambi is using her voice to shape the future of Africa's legal and business landscape. She's a certified lawyer, a strategic communicator, and a master of personal and corporate branding.
A no is not rejection, right? I call no a propeller. I always say no propels you. It motivates you to want to get to somewhere.
Yes.
So many people have a lot to offer, but don't have the confidence. They don't have the audacity. So what differentiates people who succeed from those who don't is that someone somewhere decided to take a risk, decided to be audacious. I remember that the first PR job I got, right, it was as a result of my audacity.
What are those 3 things you tell any one of your mentees listening to you right now?
The first one is,
I want to start in a very unconventional way. I don't think that line of question, right? Right, but during my research, I saw where you mentioned in your TEDx talk that the myth of single life calling.
yeah,
I think that caught my attention. You said you no longer believe in the idea that life calls us in multiple directions, if I'm not mistaken. When did that belief break for you, particularly as a builder?
Okay, first of all, thank you for having me.
Oh, welcome.
It's great to be on the Positive Thoughts
podcast.
But so I think for me, it was after school, after university. That was when I really understood who I was and understood what I wanted to be. I didn't have the full picture, but I sort of knew that, I could be this and also that. And that was why I tagged my TED Talk, The Myth of a Single Calling, because many of us believe, if you are in a particular path, that's the path you should just store, and lots of us that are just, I would say lots of us are just stuck with that belief that you cannot be lots of things at once. You just have to be one thing. And there's something they call people like me, multi-potentialites.
Yeah.
Yes, people who have the capacity to carry on, multiple roles or multiple parts and do it very well. So that's who I am. So it was after school that I realized that, I could be a lawyer and also a media girl. I could merge what I knew in law with my love for media, and that was what defined my path. That is what has defined my journey as a lawyer and as a person,
And in figuring that out, did it feel like a relief for you to know that, nothing is actually wrong with you? You know how our society does not allow for us to particularly want to be multi-potential.
I think you're confused.
Yeah. So also they make you feel like something is wrong with you particularly. So when you figured out that you could be so many things, you could be so many voices at the same time, did it feel like a relief or like that to that own self?
Yes, it felt like a relief. It felt like I finally had the freedom, to own my own life, to be who I wanted to be without society necessarily dictating the path I had to take, without society making me think, I was crazy for wanting to do more than one thing or wanting to do multiple things at the same time. So I think for me, I've just owned my story, my journey, and it's okay for me to be more than one thing if I want to be, right? While I'm striving to be excellent in all of the things I do, I usually tell people that if you put your energy in a lot of things, a lot of times you realize that you're expending energy in so many things, and you get drained, you get exhausted. So also know what your capacity can carry. Don't just delve into things because, you find them interesting or because you just want to do them. Sometimes we do them because we're trying to figure out what parts. Life is not linear. Life has twists and turns. And for you to get to your destination, most times you need to try your hands on different things.
Yeah.
So most times I tell people, if you have the capacity to, then do it. But if you know that you're not built for it, right, then find something that comes natural to you and thrive in it. But for someone like me who is very interesting and very adventurous,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's that adventurous spirit that drives me to do all of the things I do. Because I like the feeling. I like the experience of trying new things, different things, So that is who I am. And I've owned up to it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we live in a society where a lot of people have been shot because they didn't realize this early. They didn't realize this early. I've had a couple of friends and people that are commenters as well explain this whole being a multi-potentialite and how it's not a bad thing to be able to do different things at the same time or at certain points of time
in your life.
Well structured. But bringing it back to the family setting, do you think that you could have realized this earlier if your parents knew about being a multi-potentialite, like knowing who and what they gave birth to? Do you think you would have realized it way earlier?
So I don't think there's any parents
Hmm.
that would give their kids the option to do two things at once at the same time.
Yeah.
So every parent just believes that, growing up, you should have a particular career goal, career path. This is what you should become. Growing up, like I'll always say, our parents already, chose a path for us in their minds.
That's right.
For me, I was very expressive, So my mom just felt, oh, because she's this way, she should do law, right? And many parents were like that. Because your kid is good in maths or sciences, you say, oh, they should do, they should go the science part. They should do medicine or whatnot. Now, I'll tell you a very interesting story. So I had a friend in secondary school who she was the best student in mathematics in my whole school. This girl took maths. She came to my school in SS1. She took first position from SS1 till SS3, right? And everybody wanted her to go into, go to the science path,
yeah.
be a medical doctor. That was the expectation. But she kept saying she wanted to be an accountant. So she chose arts. And it was weird because we all believed that the intelligent students should be in sciences, right?
Yeah.
And for me, I found it very interesting that someone was willing to really go the path that came natural to her, something she really wanted to do, right? So our parents felt they knew what was best for us, trying to match your character traits or trying to match certain traits in you with a particular career path they think is best for you. But at the end of the day, many of us, they did many of their kids a disservice.
Yes.
And if you notice, kids of this generation, they're not necessarily in the conventional path. You see kids saying, oh, I want to be a content creator, I want to be a blogger, I want to be this, I want to be that. So it's not like, and I like that parents are more exposed, this generation, right?
Yeah.
Our parents are more exposed to information, more exposed to, other things that are not conventional.
Yeah.
And I find that very interesting. My mom at some point had to accept the fact that, oh, this girl is not built for this. So let me just let her do what she wants to do. Let me let her do what comes natural to her. So yeah, my parent had to accept it at some point,
But it was when you were done studying law.
Oh, it was when I was done studying law. Not just when I was done studying law, when my mom saw that what I was doing was actually, putting me in the spotlight, she saw that what I was doing as a lawyer and as a media person was actually creating some form of impact. So parents want to see the results first before they believe.
Yeah.
Before they believe that, this girl actually made the right decision. So it was when my mom saw the result that she supported me fully and she was like, okay, go for it.
I agree. I can relate this backwards to myself and my dad, how he wanted me to do architecture. I'm like, nah, we don't do that here. But then he ended up saying he's not going to have an illiteracy. So I'm like, if you feel like doing media is literacy, okay, let's see. You don't know that this is where the world is headed.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it was when we started having like some sort of resort.
Yeah.
Connecting with some certain people that they don't see as normal people in the society.
Yeah.
So you're breaking into this circle. How are you achieving that with this line of work? That's when they began to think, okay, maybe there's a thing here. which I believe is something that should be talked about. Because you see that even in the current day and age, there are parents who fail to understand patterns and how things are going. And they're still forcing their kids. Okay, let me even ask, are people still studying law?
Well, people still study law, but a lot of times what you see is they study law and they drop the degree and just delve into something entirely different, right? But again, I feel like we are now coming to, understand the need for other things. So before now, I'm not sure a parent really understood where most of these unconventional, career paths or these roles were going in terms of your career trajectory. They need to understand. So if you want to be, let's say, a media person, for instance, what is the end goal, right? Media is broad. So what's your focus? You want to be a broadcaster? Do you want to be, a red carpet host? What do you really want to be, right? So our parents did not understand as much. So I make that excuse for my mom anyways. Every time I'm like, okay, she didn't understand that much. Yeah. Let me, just give her graces and just, okay, I'm still doing law, not practicing, but I'm solving a problem within the legal industry. So I think it's still a win-win for me at the end of the day.
Is this something that made you drop practice?
I'm not sure I ever wanted to practice. And it was funny that while my friends were, all excited about practicing law after school, after law school, I just knew that was not my path. When you have a deeper sense of calling for something else, you feel joy when you're involved in something that is not within whatever you studied, right? So media for me was that I love writing, I love talking, I love interacting with people. So media for me was that platform that gave me the freedom to fully express who I was and to fully express myself. So there was no regrets, right? At no point did I ever think I was going to get into practice. Till now, some people even think, in future, I'll go back, open a law firm. And I'm like, no, if I want to open a law firm, I'll just open a law firm and employ lawyers. But I am not going to practice because it's not me. It's not who I am. So I cannot force myself to thrive in an area that is not authentic to me.
Practicing law comes with a lot of things. I've been privileged to shoot intellectual property events and all of it. So I've been able to document all of those stories, and I didn't like law before, but I started coming to the knowledge of why it's important.
So it is.
So while we're trying to talk about how it's a part where a lot of people do not want to work in anymore, it's still important to note that it's very, very necessary.
Yes, it is.
A lot of problems that has erupted in our societies because someone wrote something that someone did not understand.
Yeah.
And they went on to say, I accept, I agree.
Law is interwoven into everything that we do, every aspect of our lives. So even as someone who is not, when I say I'm not practicing law, right? Some people say I'm wrong to say that because I still have a legal platform and what we do is deliver services to the legal industry. So some people say I am still in practice in a way, right? But what I call practice is a courtroom practice or working in-house as a lawyer with a particular organization. That's what I call practice, because day to day, you're doing what lawyers do, right? You're drafting agreements, you're reviewing contracts, you're going to court and I don't do those things. So what I do is completely different, right? But I think it's also interesting because law actually affords you, law is very versatile. So it affords you the opportunity to be anything you want to be within the legal sector, within the legal industry.
Yeah, that's right. I agree with you on that. You wrote something on your Instagram. But the way it's structured is they always ask me, who is your father? It hit hard because behind that question is another word. Do you deserve this or did someone place you here? And I think I can tap into this a little bit because when you hear that question now, certain emotions arise because it looks like you didn't earn your way up here.
Yeah.
It looks like you didn't earn your way up here. Someone put you here.
Yeah.
And how have you been able to manage situations where people were trying to ask questions that relates to who are you representing or who put you here? All this while that you've been building?
we live in a world where people try to discredit other people's success, right? Even wealthy people or rich kids or kids who come from wealthy homes, right, have something to offer. So when people try to downplay or discredit the efforts that other people are making in society, like, right, it gets me really, really pissed, because I'm like, can I actually just do something that is linked to me as a person without you attaching my success to somebody or something else or money or whatever? So every time I get asked that question, I'm like, I am my own person, right? And the truth is, I don't come from a wealthy home. I come from a very average Nigerian family. Both parents were civil servants, but I managed to carve a path for myself, right? I didn't have anybody. I grew up in Calabar. If you have heard of Calabar, Calabar is, I love my city so much. I grew up there. It is what made me who I am. However, Calabar is just that town that is, it's like you're in a box. It's like you're in a bubble, and you have to help yourself break out of that box. So that is what it was for me. I broke out of that box. I started traveling out of my city, networking with people. I literally pushed myself out there. I literally created a path for myself without anybody's influence, not my father, not my mother. I made a name for myself as Mina.
What were most of those steps that you took that helped you break out of that circle that you were in at the time?
So I think the first thing was I changed my mindset. When you're used to hearing that, oh, this city is like this city is like that, it has a way of affecting you.
Yeah.
There are people who come into Abuja and cannot prosper in this land because of their mindset. Because they have this mindset that, oh, Abuja is a place where people prosper based on what circle you're in. You grow based on the circle that you're affiliated with or the people that you're affiliated with, right? I came into Abuja 2 years ago. People don't believe this. Yes.
Few years ago, like
2 years ago. 2 years ago. And to be honest with you, Abuja has been, when, I don't know if you're a Christian, but Christian. Okay.
I'm a spiritual.
So, when Joshua and Caleb went to the land of Canaan and came back and said, oh, so first of all, what was his name? Aaron sent some people, sent 12 spies to go to the land of Canaan. And they came, they said, they are giants. They are this, they are that.
Yeah.
But when Joshua and Caleb went to Canaan, they came back and said, it is a land filled with milk and honey. We can take over the land. And I think for me, that is my experience. Wherever I am, I change my mindset. Whether or not the land is fruitful, once I enter that land, I tell myself, Mina, because you are here, things will work out for you. And while people were complaining about Calabar this, Calabar that, I was in that town and I was making money. People were flying me in to speak. For the first time in, I think it was 2017 or 2018, I spoke at Lagos Social Media Week. I think I was one of the only Calabar people at the time.
From Calabar to Lagos.
Calabar to Lagos who spoke on that platform, right? So it is a mindset thing. And again, I want people to understand that your network, right? Network connections are very important. Now, what was I doing? I was always on social media, LinkedIn, Instagram at the time. And from social media, I'll connect with people, I understood the power of social media early in life. I understood visibility early in life. And I leveraged it to put my brand out there, to put my voice out there. There's something my friend always says, that you can stay local and go global. And social media has made that possible. So you see content creators, people are creating content from inside villages, thick forest, and they become global sensation, right? So for me, first, I had to change my mindset. I had to believe that. I had to reset, my head to think success. I did not let my environment or my geographical location limit me from, thinking or dreaming as big as I wanted to. And then I moved a step forward to connect with people, to network with people. I also got uncomfortable with being comfortable in Calabar. So at some point, I started traveling out for events before the invitation for the event in Lagos came up, right? I started traveling for events without my parents' knowledge. When I was in school, I'll leave Calabar, travel for events, use bus. I can't count the number of times I saw accidents on the road. Calabar to Lagos is a 12-hour journey. But I'll save money for my upkeep, travel to Lagos for events, for conferences, where I knew I could meet the people I wanted to be like, the people I was looking up to. And I think that as well also shifted me, also helped me, because I was exposed to new people, exposed to new information, exposed to things that I was not used to seeing within my environment. So that shaped me, shaped my journey, shaped my trajectory as well.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing this point, right? Because my takeaway from what you just said now is that you were not only aware, you began to take steps.
Yes.
When you figure, oh, this is not working.
Yeah.
So this is what I can do to make it
I
work.
stretched myself.
Aside from changing minds, I want to believe that you started positioning yourself as a person of value.
Yes.
Who has value to give. One of the hurdles that some people feel is, I don't have anything to offer anyone. That's why most of them don't even go for conferences, events in their industry, in the niche where they're looking to work. How do you now take a step or tell someone who feels they don't have something? It sounds like a very dumb question, right? But it's just for clarity purposes for people who say, oh, sometimes this is what value should look like. Take a step that you mentioned. Those taking actions helped you get many more answers, helped you build more connection with different people in those industries that you want to operate.
My answer in just one word is be audacious. Now, I'll tell you why I said that. So many people have a lot to offer, but don't have the confidence. They don't have the audacity. So what differentiates people who succeed from those who don't is that someone somewhere decided to take a risk, decided to be audacious, decided to take the first step even when it didn't look like anything was going to happen, right? So many people are scared of what will people say, scared of failure, scared of the world, scared of society. But what if you just do you and turn a deaf ear to society, people, and I always say people should learn to blindfold themselves to what people say, to the world, right? There's so much noise in the world. And the thing is, if you don't step out, if you don't do something, right? If you don't fail, you might not really know what it means to experience success. Right. Because success is a series of failures, right? You do one thing and you don't get it right. What happens is that you're coming back to do it better.
Yeah.
So even when you come back and you don't do it better, right, you come back again and eventually you will get it. You become a master at that thing because you've done it consistently. So people who are currently public speakers, if you listen to them, talk about their journeys or their experiences, one thing stands out. The first time they spoke to an audience, they fumbled.
Of course.
They went back home and they were angry at themselves because they felt they didn't deliver at
accurately
optimum, right? Or at maximum, capacity or whatever, right? But what happens is that as you keep talking, you get better. You get more eloquent. You become more confident, right?
Yeah.
And your delivery becomes better because you keep doing it consistently. So many of us are we shortchange ourselves. We don't believe in ourselves enough. We talk down on ourselves even before people give their feedback. So how about you just go into the world and be who you are supposed to be without giving, attention to what people say or, society or whatever. Just be yourself. And I tell people something. I tell people that I'm not the most eloquent person in the world. There's sometimes I have conversations, or, I speak on stage and I make mistakes and I go back home and I beat myself. I tell myself, oh, I should have said this. Of course, that was in the early stage of my speaking, journey, right? But what happened was that every time I go back home, I try to do better. And with time, you realize that, you become better at this thing. So instead of beating yourself over something, why don't you just, keep doing it, stay consistent at it? So audacity is important. Everyone has something of value to offer. Everyone. Don't shortchange yourself. Don't look down on yourself. Don't feel like you're not doing enough. Because you're doing something in that small space. All you need to do is step out with audacity. I was telling my story a few Saturdays ago at Verve Clicquot event, and I said something to them. I said, I remember that the first PR job I got, right, it was as a result of my audacity. So at the time, there was someone who was running for the position of NBA president, and I randomly met him at an event and just walked up to him and said, sir, I can make you win this election.
Wow.
And I'm sure in his head, I don't know what he thought. Maybe he would have laughed and said, this is a small girl. It's like walking up to Tinubu while he was doing his campaigns and just telling him, Mr. President, I can make you win the presidential election. So that was what it was for me. But the man was like, okay, talk to my PA at the time. I spoke to him. They brought me on board the campaign. I managed the media campaign for that election. And guess what? He won the election.
Wow.
I had not, in fact, that was the first time I was doing anything of that capacity. I was managing a media campaign for the whole of Nigeria, for the whole Nigerian Bar Association. That is all lawyers in Nigeria, right? And I was managing that campaign. Till now, people still talk about the PR for that campaign because it was one of the best in the history of the NBA.
Did you build momentum over time, or was it at the time that you started doing it?
It was, I learned, not really learning on the job. I wanted to say I learned on the job, but I also remember that, prior to that time, I was preparing myself.
Right.
So they always say when preparedness meets opportunity, it's success. So I was preparing myself, I was reading, I was watching videos, I was getting to understand the PR industry. And so that was like my practical. That was like an experiment for me.
Yeah.
Yes. And that was my success story as well, not just the president's success story, but it was mine because now I tell people, oh, I managed the NBA media campaign for that NBA election. And it's like a credit to, what I have done. So for me, audacity is everything. If you can just move out of fear and move out with boldness and just do that thing, what's on the other side of fear is, success. That's the truth. So instead of just, talking down on yourself or feeling that you're not enough or you don't have anything to value, set yourself. There's something of value. There's something that you can give. There is something within you, some form of, what do they call it? Skill or maybe a talent or just something that comes natural to you that you can actually use to make the world a better place, right? Who thought content creation would be, a fame few years back?
Yeah.
But that is one of the biggest economies in this country, content creation, right? People are making so much money from it. So once you can step out, success is going to be your,
I think it's even a game of voices. The whole content creation thing is restoring people's voices back to them. But then I wanted to dig deep a little bit into most of the PR campaigns that you manage. Are there some that didn't work? Like somebody?
Oh yes. So, oh my God. So like 2 years ago, another candidate who was running for president of the NBA, you met me to manage the civils. His election, my dear brother, he did not win the elector.
Sorry.
And guess what? The candidate who won was also poaching me.
Wow.
Yes, he was poaching me at the time to be part of his media campaign, to manage his media campaign.
The priority is winning.
Yes, prior to his winning. But I was like, okay, I don't think I want to, right? Because the other person had spoken to me first,
Mm.
you know, and I'm very big on loyalty. So I'm big on loyalty and integrity. So because I had given the other person my word, okay, we were going to do it, I didn't want to go back on my word, right?
Mm.
Unfortunately, he did not win. However, right, that campaign was also, you know, very great. It was big. We did a lot of work, but some things played out at the end. You know how politics can be sometimes. But yeah, Misha did not win that one. And I felt very bad because every PR campaign I have ever done has been successful, right? My success rates are higher than
And your failure
the
rate.
failures, you know.
I see. So even the whole game can affect good work.
Oh, yes, it can. It can. People who do PR for elections, right? It's always a 50-50 chance because you can do all the work. You can do good work. You can, you know, bring in all your arsenal and do what you want to do, you know, do excellent work. But things will play on behind the scene that you're not even aware of. It's politics. It's a game, right?
Mm.
So no matter the good work you do, there are people who call the shots. You know,
But it's supposed to be.
sometimes that's what happens. No, it's not. To be honest, it's not. But it's Nigeria. It's Nigeria. So somehow corruption is interwoven into some of our institutions and our systems. You know.
How do you think we can solve that?
It's
Is it
going to
solvable?
take. It's going. I believe it's solvable, but it's going to take us a lot of time to get. It's going to take a long time to get to that place, right? I think we need to start by changing ourselves first, because corruption is inherent in Nigerian.
All of us, every one of us.
A lot of us. I mean, I don't want to say everyone, but some people will want to claim holier than thou.
Okay.
But you see corruption in the littlest things, like lobbying for positions.
So when you were talking about Audacity and taking some certain steps, you were sharing how you were able to get into Lafarge, to serve at Lafarge at the time. All right, would you like to dig a little bit?
Share the story, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so as a youth corp at the time, I remember being posted to Lafarge. And while I was excited about it because I wanted Lafarge, right? I didn't have anyone, you know, internally who could get me to serve in Lafarge, you know. So I remember going there with my call-off letter, and my husband had gotten a letter from his boss at the time, right? And he wanted me to use the letter as a recommendation letter or a reference letter or whatever, but they don't care about those things, to be honest. So I took my recommendation letter to the gate, and you know, the security refused to let me in because he's like, do you have an appointment with HR? I said, no, I don't. So they kept me there for over an hour. And then finally, he now called HR office and told HR that there's a copper that was sent here, blah, blah, blah. The HR lady, HR assistant at the time, Roslyn, said, oh, let her in. So I came in and, you know, she saw my call-off letter and she's like, you're a lawyer and this is a plant. This is an industry and I'm not sure we want to take lawyers or we need lawyers. And I just looked at her and I said, I really want to serve here, right? She asked me, oh, what are your skills? What are your proficiencies? Blah, blah, blah. A series of questions anyway. And I want to believe she was impressed with the answers. And she said, oh, they were going to get back to me. So I remember waiting for over a month. I didn't get a call. I didn't get feedback, nothing. I kept on sending messages and every day it was, oh, we haven't received feedback from Lagos. So while I was scared that I'll probably not serve in Lafarge, I think somewhere at the back of my mind, I just had this belief that it will work out, like everything will work out well. Until 1 month later, my colleagues had resumed at their places of primary assignment, and I was still home. I had not resumed yet, and it was a lot for me, you know. But as God will have it, finally, I got my call-off later. I got my acceptance later, and that was how I started serving with Lafarge, right? And I served there for a while. I was with Lafarge for a while. And at some point, people even thought I was a Lafarge staff because my boss would send me out to his pet things. My boss would send me out to do things that he was supposed to do, when he was not around. So I was as a representative of that particular department in the office. Many people didn't believe I was a Corp member because I did my work with so much joy, with so much happiness. So that was how I worked with Lafarge. That was how I served with Lafarge. And yeah, that was my journey. And it was Audacity that led me there. So you know what some people would have done? They would have gone back to their LGI and said, oh, help me change this thing, please.
Yeah.
They would have lost faith in the whole process. Because imagine waiting for a month for you to be posted or a month for you to be accepted. My LGI even suggested to me, that she will post me to somewhere else because they were not attending to me. And she told me they don't take coppers. Like, they don't, But yes, Audacity got me there. And Audacity kept me there.
So there's a lot of Audacity that could be talked already.
Yes. I think people should really go for what they want without fear. What's the worst that can happen? I mean, nobody will kill you, right?
If you're on the floor, you can't fall again.
So the worst that can happen is a no. That's the worst.
It's still an answer.
But it's still an answer. And a no is not rejection, right? A no, I call no a propeller.
Yeah.
I always say no propels you. It motivates you to want to get to somewhere.
Yes.
It's like, I don't know, what do they call it? It's like a catalyst.
Yes.
For something.
Bold Audacious.
So if you get a no, it's not a death sentence. It is a catalyst for greatness. So get used to getting no's. Of course the yeses will come, but get used to getting no's. Once you get used to it, I don't think there's anything that can quench your audacity, that can quench your confidence, because you've built resistance to a lot of things, or you've built yourself to that point where nothing phases you anymore, right? So you're just going with audacity. No matter what happens, I keep pushing, I keep going, I keep moving.
This is actually very deep. As much as I don't want to go deep into it more, I feel like people should even start searching for more no's sometimes than yes. It doesn't make sense sometimes when I talk about board. It gets you to close to the right place.
Yeah.
The more no's you get and the more failures you experience and the more close to the success that you're gonna get. And it's a thing on its own entirely. It's a full-blown topic.
Yeah.
Do you have regrets? It's so weird asking that question.
Don't worry. I like the question. I wouldn't say I have regrets, right? It's not like I'm perfect. It's not like my life is 100%. But I think success really came, what I define as success really came very early for me, right? And most times I feel like I would have built momentum before it came. Because sometimes people just put you out there and you're not ready for the spotlight. I love the spotlight, and I always tell people, like, please don't judge me, but I love to be in the spotlight. I love attention, by the way. However, I felt like I would have built, a lot of momentum and capacity, leading up to what I define as success, right? There were many things I wanted to do, right? I got matured very early in life. And I couldn't really go back in time to do the things I wanted to do because I got thrown into the spotlight really early in my career and really early in life. I know some people wouldn't wish this because some people want success to come as fast as possible, but you need to be prepared for it. What happens when people throw you in the spotlight? What happens is that most times you get overwhelmed. Most times you get confused. Most times you don't even know what you're doing. And that is when you don't know how to manage it. I have learned to manage mine, but when you don't know how to manage it, right, you get drained. And I'm looking for the perfect.
Did you have to learn it the hard way?
Well, not really. I think I had to have a conversation with myself. I needed to keep myself grounded and remind myself of who I am. Now, what happens when success comes early? At some point, pride even sets in.
Yes.
Because you're not able to manage it. We're human beings. We're wired emotionally with feelings, right?
Right.
And sometimes you won't even know when pride is growing, pride sets in, right? And you begin to carry your shoulders up and you don't even know you're being prideful. So most of the time we're not prepared for it and it just hits us, and it's short-lived when you're not prepared for it. It just comes, hits you, and it's gone because you can't manage it. So yes, I sometimes I wish that, I stayed behind the scene and just built my brand for a while, before putting my face out there. Putting my face out there as the face of my brand also gave me plenty wahala. I had problems with a lot of people because I run a law blog. And what we do is we report news. We report things happening within the legal industry.
Sure, yeah.
Many people know me. Many people know me. So many times when things are posted on the blog, they say, it's Mina. It's like Linda Ekeji.
Yeah.
She's definitely not the one running her blog. But whatever people see on Linda Ekeji, they believe it is Linda Ekeji that posted it. So I feel like my face should not have been out there
And it's
so early at the time,
okay.
Because people got to know this was the face behind the brand, and it sort of, made me have issues with a number of people who were not comfortable with some of the things that my blog posted, right? So yeah, those are some of the things that I think I should have done better. I don't necessarily regret them because everything has a good side and a bad side. They're two sides of a coin.
Yeah.
But then I feel like it should have been better.
I've not seen anyone say that they feel like they should have been on the backstage more
Yeah.
before they come to this.
It's a very rare answer. So I look back, I do a lot of retrospection. These days, people don't talk to themselves anymore. And I said something earlier when we started talking that there's so much noise in the world, so we can't really hear ourselves. People cannot own their thoughts because there's so much on social media. You're listening to this one, you're listening to that one. There's just so much going on in your head. And when you can't own your thoughts, right, you tend to tilt towards what is being said, what other people are saying. So I have found a way to have conversations with myself. And it is in that place of retrospection that sometimes I think of these things and I feel like, okay, if, maybe you had stayed in the back for a while, maybe some things would have been different, right? So yeah, that's what it is for me, really.
What are like most of those ways that you figured out to talk with yourself? The retrospective is one.
Well, I have my personal retreats. When I say personal retreats, it's not like I travel anywhere. I stay in my house and, sometimes I just lock myself in the room, stay with myself, talk to myself. I need the quiet. We all need that quiet, right? Sometimes I turn off my phone because I want to be alone. I want to actually hear myself. I get my journal. I write a lot. I have a lot of books. So journaling has also helped me. So sometimes I journal my thoughts. I journal a lot of things. Okay, Mina, what do you think you should have done 5 years ago? What part of your life do you think you can improve on? What are the things that, the little foxes in your life that can, sort of truncate your journey or the plans of God for your life? Those are the conversations I have with myself. Honest conversations. I write them down. We're not honest with ourselves these days. We're not.
So sad.
And we like people that lie to us. We like encomiums. You want people that will tell you all the good things about yourself. What about constructive criticism? Most times it doesn't need to come from people. It has to come from yourself. You need to look inward and see that, there's something actually wrong with me. There was a point in my life where I was actually very rude. When I say rude, I was very rude. I was very rude, yes. And it was not intentional. I grew up in a very aggressive environment. So it's sort of, I'll call it childhood trauma. It sort of informed the way I reacted to things, my reaction to things. So I was very aggressive in reacting. Like my reaction, I'll flare up so easily. Yes. But I had to work on myself. I'm still a work in progress. Most times when it gets to me, I just shout. But I'm still a work in progress and I'm still trying to see how I can suppress that rudeness or that aggression or that anger. Now, that is me being very honest with you about who I am, but people cannot be dishonest. People will argue with you and deny that they are not. If you tell a proud man that he's proud, he'll tell you he's not proud and look for an excuse. He will look for something to just excuse himself,
Yes.
From whatever you're saying. So yeah, I think we should start having honest conversations with ourselves.
So these are some points that our society is not very, very, very much supportive of, right? The systems, the people, the parents, we tell ourselves so much lies. And I believe that the reinforcement is, okay, let's start doing better.
Yeah.
The steps to do all of this is to start telling ourselves the truth. That is where personal development comes in, knowing that, oh, this is not working, being self-aware.
Yeah, self-awareness.
And how can I make this better? It's not working.
Yeah.
But I really, really appreciate the fact that you could even share that with us and the world as well, because it starts from one person to the next person and to the next person.
Yeah.
If you are able to tell us that, and we have a lot of people that are looking up to you, okay, even our mentor is being truthful to herself. So why shouldn't I be? Now it calls for like a personal reflection. What are those things that are not working that is bad for other people, that creates discomfort for other people? And now you're telling yourself that singular truth. I sincerely thank you so much for that.
Growth as a person starts in that place of self-awareness and self-realization. That is the place of knowing where you know yourself. A lot of us don't know ourselves. We think we know ourselves, but we don't know ourselves. So you need to keep searching. And life is a journey of self-discovery. Why do we call it self-discovery? Because you keep discovering yourself. What is discovery? It is finding. So you keep finding different sides to you. It is a continuous process. Even till you get to 100 years old, you're still discovering sides to you that you didn't know you had, right? So while you're discovering yourself, life also affords us the chance to work on those sides of us that are not too pretty, those sides of us that, would affect the world in the negative. Yes.
Now that you've journeyed through self-awareness, does it have a way that it has affected how you are even working with personal brands that you help with PR and brand consultations? Saying, okay, these are the character traits and all the things that I'm looking out for people that I'm working for or people I'm working with.
So that particular question leads me to the conversation of having personal values. Because that is what guides my work as a PR person. That is what keeps me grounded. That is what helps me not to compromise on my values, because I have personal values, which are intrinsic to me, which are things that I hold dear. So no matter what happens, right? No matter how big whatever brand is coming to me to do things that are not aligned with my value, I will say no, because it's not aligned with who I am. So yes, that place. Well, it depends. I'll talk to God about it.
That's part of being honest with ourselves, because it's easy to say, I'm not going to take the money.
Very easy. Very, very easy to say that, actually. But again, it boils down to the conversation of value. There are certain things I will not do, even if you give me $10 million, because it is against my value. You give me $10 million. If I give you $10 million to kill somebody, will you do it?
And I will not do it to your life.
Exactly. Because you're not a murderer. It is against your personal value, your personal belief as a Christian, as a person. So there are things you would tell me to do that I would not do because it is against my belief. So yes, I bring my values. I bring myself. I bring my authentic self into the work I do as a PR person, as a lawyer, as a media person. It's important that I bring myself on the job so I can deliver optimally or at optimal capacity for my clients.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing all of this wisdom with us. What are those 3 things you tell any one of your mentees listening to you right now?
The first one is be authentic. People are looking for authenticity. People want to connect with people.
Yeah.
So how does your story resonate with the world? So in putting out your story as a person, you have to be authentic while at it. So be authentic. Be your authentic self wherever you find yourself. Don't try to be anyone else but yourself, right?
Mm.
The second thing, build a belief system.
Mm.
So that is one thing that can make or mar you, your belief system. And building a belief system is not about your religion, right?
Okay.
It is a mindset. What you believe in. What are the things you believe in? It includes your values as well. What are the things you cannot compromise on?
Mm.
What are the things that no one can change your mind about? The things you believe about yourself. So build a belief system.
Mm.
And get rid of unbelievers in your life. I'm not talking about people who are non-religious around here. I'm talking about people who don't believe in your dreams. Because you're going to meet a lot of people in the journey of life who will talk you down, who would say, who are you to think you can do this?
Mm.
Who are you to think you can become this? Get rid of unbelievers. Unbelievers come in form of family, in form of friends.
Yes.
People have family members that don't want to see them grow. That's true.
That's right. That's right.
People have friends who are very competitive. And because they're very competitive, they don't want to see you grow bigger than them. So they talk down your dreams. They laugh at your dreams. They laugh at your vision. So build a belief system and get rid of unbelievers. That's a 2-in-1, point. The third point is be bold, be confident in what you're offering the world. Everybody has something to offer.
Mm.
What differentiates you from the rest of the world is the fact that you're willing to put yourself out there, not minding what happens, not minding what the world says, not minding what people say. You're just bold enough to know that this thing you have is something of value, is something that can help the world become better. We all have a purpose. There's a reason why you are here on earth. So God wants you to be bold about what He has put inside you, and He wants you to use it, right? Doesn't want you to hide your talent or hide your gift, or try to be humble. Some of us try to be humble. We don't want the world to know that we can do this thing.
Yeah.
We want to say, but no, that's not humility, right?
It's a disservice. Yeah.
That's you're doing a disservice to not just yourself, but to the world. When you hide your talent, you're doing a disservice to the world, because I'll tell you why. Now, the way God created the world, He created the world in such a way that we humans are interconnected. And so I need you to survive. The other person needs me to survive. Everybody needs each other to survive. Life is like we're an ecosystem and we need each other to survive, right?
Mm.
Now, as children of Abraham, we're benefiting from Abraham's obedience to God.
Yeah.
So ask yourself, who is going to benefit from my obedience to God or from my stepping into my gift and my calling? We sing Abraham's blessings are mine every other time. But who is going to benefit from your own blessing? What is your legacy when you leave this world? What are you leaving behind? So legacy is not material. Legacy is intangible. Legacy is what you leave in the lives of people. Legacy is the fact that in 50 years from now, I can think about Thompson and say, oh, Thompson did this because of his podcast, because of the Positive Thought podcast. A lot of people came to full realization of themselves. A lot of people stepped out of fear into faith because one man stepped into his purpose.
That's right.
So be bold and be audacious about what God has put in your hands and step out with faith and boldness and courage. Be confident in yourself. You don't need to get it 100%. You don't need to have it all figured out. It's okay to not have it all figured out. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to fail, because many of us are scared of failure and scared of starting over. It's okay to start over, right? So I think when people come to the realization of all of these things I've said, they're really going to live a full and a fulfilled life.
Thank you so much for sharing this. One of the things I always say is this. Many of these things are stuff that a lot of us have heard.
Yeah. over and over again.
We fail to put them to action, which is why
It now sounds like a cliche sometimes because it's repeated, it's repetitive.
but we'll have to keep saying it regardless till everyone begins to use this thesis, this whole pathway, like I'd call them runway. Once you have, and this is like capital, this is like funding that when you give to a business, these 4 things you mentioned, being authentic, getting rid of unbelief, being unapologetic, being bold and audacious. When you run with just these things,
Yeah.
you're able to make $1 million
Yeah.
from one idea.
Should I tell you something? Sorry to cut you there. First, please. So at the stage where I am right now, right, I still listen to podcasts. I still listen to people because I feel like there's so much that I don't know. Or maybe I know these things, but I need to hear them again. There's something that happens when you hear things over and over again. Like
Yes.
it sort of configures your mindset.
Mhm.
It sort of reconfigures you because you're hearing it over and over and over again. So it becomes your default setting to act on this thing. So every morning, I put on my TV, put on YouTube. I'm looking for somebody. Seth Godin is one of my best when it comes to podcasts. I love marketing. I love advertising. He does a lot of that.
Yeah.
So I love to listen to him because I feel like there's so much I still don't know. There are other people that I love to listen to because I glean from their wealth of knowledge and experience. So it doesn't stop. Learning doesn't stop. Life is a process where we're trying to get better. We're learning every day. So even if you hear these things 100 times, it's not enough. You need to hear them over and over again for it to stick. So yeah.
That's true. Thank you so much for sharing. And I wanna agree and believe as well that you've been getting value, which is why you are still watching till now. And it's a great time that I'm gonna do this. Gonna link all of Mina's details in the description so that you can get in touch with me. And I want to believe that you're open to questions.
Oh yeah,
A lot of people.
definitely.
Yeah. So we are expecting your questions. If you need clarity in any area, be it public relations, be it communications, media, in the legal sector as well, please shoot your questions and fingers crossed you're going to get the answer you need. We just have one ask from you to please hit the subscribe button. That's the only payment you have for us to bring guests that are high value, high quality, that have so much to share. And over time, we are believing that you continue to get value out of this. Above all, please try to bookmark this episode because you will need it sometime 5 years from now, 7 years, 10 years from now. And just to say this as well, you're the first woman we've hosted on the PT podcast. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.